So today we are very, very fortunate to have His Grace Ram Giridhari Prabhu with us. Prabhuji, thank you so much for being there on the call and giving us your association. You can now take over. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Jaya Jaya Shri Chaitanya Jaya Nityananda. Jaya Dvaita Chandra Jaya Gaura Bhakta Vrinda. Jaya Jaya Shri Chaitanya Jaya Nityananda. Jaya Dvaita Chandra Jaya Gaura Bhakta Vrinda. So today we are reading from Sri Chaitanya Charitamrita, Madhya Lila, chapter 20, text number 394 onwards. Janma Balya Pauganda Kaishora Prakasha Putana Vadadikari Moshalananta Vilasa. Krishna's pastimes, appearance, childhood, boyhood and youth are all manifested, beginning with the killing of Putana and extending to the end of Maushala Lila, the annihilation of the Yadu dynasty. All of these pastimes are rotating in every universe. Kona Brahmande Kona Lila Rahaya Avasthana Sate Lila Nitya Kahe Agama Purana. Since all Krishna's pastimes are taking place continuously, at every moment some pastime is existing in one universe or another. Consequently, these pastimes are called eternal by the Vedas and Puranas. Text number 396. Goloka Gokula Dhama Vibhu Krishna Sama Krishne Chaya Brahmanda Gane Tahara Shankrama. The spiritual abode known as Goloka, which is a pasturing land for Surabhi cows, is as powerful and opulent as Krishna. By the will of Krishna, the original Goloka and Gokula Dhamas are manifested with him in all the universes. Text 397. Atayeva Golokastane Nitya Vihara Brahmanda Gane Krame Prakatya Tahara. The eternal pastimes of Krishna are continuously taking place in the original Goloka Vrindavana planet. These same pastimes are gradually manifested within the material world in each and every Brahmanda. Purport by His Divine Grace A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai. Srila Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Thakura elucidates this complicated explanation of Krishna's pastimes. Krishna's pastimes are always present in the material world in one of the many universes. These pastimes appear in the universes one after the other, just as the sun moves across the sky and measures the time. Krishna's appearance may be manifested in this universe at one moment, and immediately after his birth, this pastime is manifested in the next universe. After his killing of Putana is manifested in this universe, it is next manifested in another universe. Thus, all the pastimes of Krishna are eternally existing both in the original Goloka Vrindavana planet and in the material universes. The 125 years calculated in our solar system to be Krishna's lifetime equal one moment for Krishna. One moment these pastimes are manifested in one universe, and the next moment they are manifested in the next universe. There are unlimited universes, and Krishna's pastimes are manifested one moment after the other in all of them. This rotation is explained through the example of the suns moving across the sky. Krishna appears and disappears in innumerable universes, just as the sun appears and disappears during the day. Although the sun appears to rise and set, it is continuously shining somewhere on the earth. Similarly, although Krishna's pastimes seem to appear and disappear, they are continuously existing in one Brahmanda or another. Thus, all of Krishna's Leela are present simultaneously throughout the innumerable universes. By our limited senses, we cannot appreciate this. Therefore, Krishna's eternal pastimes are very difficult for us to understand. One should try to understand how they are taking place by understanding the example of the sun. Although the Lord is appearing constantly in the material universes, his pastimes are eternally present in the original Goloka Vrindavana. Therefore, these pastimes are called Madhya Lila, eternally present pastimes. Because we cannot see what is going on in other universes, it is a little difficult for us to understand how Krishna is eternally manifesting his pastimes. There are 14 Manus in one day of Brahma, and this time calculation is also taking place in other universes. Krishna's pastimes are manifested before 14 Manus expire. Although it is little difficult to understand the eternal pastimes of Krishna in this way, we must accept the verdict of the Vedic literatures. There are two types of devotees: the sadhaka, who is preparing for perfection, and the siddha, who is already perfect. As far as those who are already perfect are concerned, Lord Krishna says in the Bhagavad Gita, Tyaktva deham punarjanma naiti mameti so Arjuna. After giving up this material body, such a devotee comes to me. After leaving the material body, the perfect devotee takes birth from the womb of a gopi on a planet where Krishna's pastimes are going on. This may be in this universe or another universe. This statement is found in the Ujjwala Nilamani, which is commented by Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur. When a devotee becomes perfect, he is transferred to a universe where Krishna's pastimes are taking place. Krishna's eternal associates go wherever Krishna manifests his pastimes. As stated before, first the father and mother of Krishna appear, then the other associates. Quitting his material body, the perfect devotee also goes to associate with Krishna and his other associates. Om Ajnana Timirandasya Jnananjana Shalakaya Chakshurun Militam Yenam Tasmai Sri Gurave Namaha. Nama Om Vishnu Padaya Krishna Preshtaya Bhutale Srimate Bhaktivedanta Swamin Iti Namine. Namaste Saraswati Deve Gauravani Pracharine Nirvishesha Sunyavadi Paschatya Deshatarine. Jai Sri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Srivasadi Gaura Bhakta Vrinda. Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare, Hare Rama 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 Hare Hare. So today we are reading from Sri Chaitanya Charitamrita, Madhya Lila, chapter 20, text number 394 through 397. So we are in the context where Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu is speaking to Sanatana Goswami, and as a part of his giving him instruction, he is currently explaining about different types of incarnations. He is talking about various forms of avatars and getting into the details of them. And this particular shloka, or this particular set of shlokas, he is explaining about the Supreme Lord's personal appearance and personal activities and his Leela in this universe. So, this chapter, Chaitanya Mahaprabhu is touching base on the entire cross-section of spiritual knowledge, and this becomes a very good reference for us to get a complete overview about the entire devotional subject matter. It is very interesting to see how the instruction Chaitanya Mahaprabhu gave to Rupa Goswami and the instruction that he gave to Sanatana Goswami, both of them are very concise. But then, because of their devotion towards Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, Rupa Goswami Pad and Sanatana Goswami, both of them, they have expanded their understanding and inked their realizations in the form of different literatures and helping us to understand what they have been instructed by Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. So when these knowledge that we hear from Mahaprabhu through parampara, it is getting sweeter and sweeter and sweeter. And not only it is becoming sweeter, it is also becoming relevant. And interestingly, not only it is becoming relevant, it is also becoming relatable. If Srila Prabhupada's purport was not there, it would have been extremely difficult as a student of Bhagavad Gita to understand what Krishna is trying to explain Arjuna. Just by being a Sanskrit scholar, we would not be able to appreciate Krishna's instruction to Arjuna. So hence, Srila Prabhupada's purport, who in turn has referred to various purports of our Vaishnavacharyas like Sridhar Goswami, Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Maharaj, Bhakti Vinod Thakur, Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur. So Srila Prabhupada has given us a comprehensive study. And when we just read Srila Prabhupada's purport, we are able to position ourselves in the right perspective. And Srila Prabhupada's purport is just not the knowledge that he possessed, it is also the realization that he has derived during his Krishna consciousness association with his predecessors. So it is our greatest fortune that we are hearing from Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu to Sanatana Goswami what the conversation has happened. We are also hearing what he actually meant and how we can understand this. So Srila Prabhupada is starting this purport by saying, Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Maharaj elucidates this complicated explanation of Krishna's pastimes. Thanks to him and thanks to Srila Prabhupada to have given us this knowledge. Had they not given this, probably we would be beating around the bush and cooking our own stories, and at the end of the day, we will be thinking we are doing devotional life, leading a devotional life, but at the end of the day, we will be in complete Maya. So, we want to sincerely offer our obeisances to Srila Prabhupada and all the predecessor acharyas, because of whom we are receiving Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu's instructions, and that instruction has become sweeter and sweeter. It has become extremely relevant to our current context, and it is also now relatable. Otherwise, for a person in our own consciousness, with our own shortcomings and the education system that we have been exposed to, these subject matters are beyond our comprehensible limit. So before I share some set of realizations, I sincerely want to express our appreciation and gratitude and offer obeisances to all the predecessor acharyas, because of whom the treasure of Krishna consciousness has become sweet, relevant and relatable. If it is relevant and relatable but not sweet, we will have a problem. If it is relatable, sweet but not relevant, I can relate to the subject matter. Yes, my grandmother lived in 1920s, and at that time internet era was not there, so communication was difficult. We could relate to this news, but it is no more relevant because that situation is not available. So Being relatable and sweet is not enough. It needs to be relevant to our context, and hence, thanks to all the Vaishnavas who are taking Srila Prabhupada's message and trying to present it to the current audience so that they can directly relate to this context and participate in Krishna consciousness. That is why we are very much dutiful, respectful and indebted to all the Vaishnavas who are helping us to march forward in our Krishna conscious journey. So with that humble note, I would like to share some realization as a part of this particular verse. The first realization that I want to say is about the word Jai. So we use the word Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya, Jai Krishna, Jai Prabhupada. So here Mahaprabhu is actually glorifying Krishna's pastimes. Jai, wonderful. This Krishna's pastimes are very nice. So as a part of this word Jai, I was speaking about this last week in the Bhagavatam forum. So this word Jaya that we are using for glorifying the Lord has got two meanings. One meaning of Jaya means all glories, and another meaning of Jaya is all victory. So the Siddhanta behind this point is that when we come in contact with Krishna, when we come in contact with Krishna's devotees, when we come in contact with Krishna's Lila or anything to do with Krishna, and when we glorify them, when we say Jai Jai, when we do Jai Jaikar to them, then what happens is that we will naturally become victorious, because by glorifying the Lord, by constantly appreciating about the Lord's activities as well as Lord's devotees' activities, a natural transformation that happens within a person is he gets to realize that he is not this body but spirit soul. He is trying to understand, I am servant of the Supreme Lord. He is getting to realize that he is, or he or she is, very, very insignificant, and that is a victory. That is why in material world it is boss, anu-boss, anu-boss, anu-boss. In spiritual world it is das, anu-das, anu-das, anu-das. In the material world, the more I am boss to a person, the more I am boss to that boss, the more I am bossing over that boss, I am considered victorious. But in the spiritual world, the more I am known as a humble servant, I am victorious. Sanatana Goswami and Rupa Goswami were governors in Nawab Hussain Shah's government. But when they came to Chandrasekhara's house, Mahaprabhu asked Chandrasekhara to go and get the devotee inside. But when Chandrasekhara left outside the door, he came back empty-handed, saying that Mahaprabhu, there was no devotee waiting outside. And Mahaprabhu understood and once again gave a much more clearer instruction. My dear Chandrasekhar, please go out. There will be a person standing at your gate. Please get him. Because Sanatana Goswami had already worn an attire, very simple, humble, beggar look like, without any strings attached or without any luxurious arrangement. He exposed himself as a very humble person. Tyaktva turnamashesha mandalapati shrenim sada tucchavat bhutva dina ganesa kau karunaya kaupina kanta shrito. Srinivasacharya is saying, Tyaktva turnam asesha mandalapati shrenim sada tucchavat. They have rejected every kind of upadhi to an extent. They rejected their sannyas to an extent. They gave up their own Brahmin thread to an extent. They rejected every external identification that were attached to themselves, and they were just on a loin cloth. Kaupina kanta shritau. So they were on their very simple attire just for only one purpose. And the purpose was to deliver us. Srila Prabhupada did not have any other agenda apart from delivering us for him to leave Vrindavan. He was completely self-satisfied. He was completely, situated where he didn't have to leave Vrindavan. So he did that. So the realization here is that here wonderful activities of the Supreme Lord are explained, and just by doing Jai Jaikar, all glories to this Leela, all glories to this Leela, and constantly talking about Krishna Leela. So if somebody does Krishna Leela Smaran, if somebody talks about Krishna Leela's Shravan, hear and talk, what happens? We become Jai Jai, we will become victorious, and the victory is, we will get to realize we are not this body but spirit souls. So that is the first realization. So it is extremely important when we get to know these wonderful Leelas of the Lord. This is not a theoretical, technical information for us. When you get to hear about this, you are supposed to glorify. The more you glorify, Tyaktva Deham Punar Janmanaiti Mameti So Arjuna. So that is why Prabhupada explains, as a sadhaka, I am preparing for perfection, and my preparation for perfection is Jai, 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 Jai. Jai Radhe, Jai Krishna, Jai Vrindavan, Shri Govinda Gopinath, Madana Mohan. So by just saying Jai Jai, what is happening is, something is getting rid of our heart. And when that something is getting rid of our heart, what happens? Susukam kartum avyayam. Supreme happiness can be realized. Hridayantasto hi abhadrani vidunotim suhrut satam. So that is our first lesson. Hence, please, as much as possible, glorify the Supreme Lord. Just go on Jai, Jai. So that's why the word Jaya that we use all the time is very important, very significant, and should not be underestimated. So now coming to the little, if you go a little deeper, why am I not able to do this Jai Jai? Why we are not able to appreciate these pastimes of the Supreme Lord? Here Srila Prabhupada explains that every moment of Krishna, these pastimes are happening all over the universe. And these pastimes are never stopping, they are constantly happening. And it is constantly happening, which means Krishna is constantly giving his try to deliver us. And when we don't take advantage of this process, we get filtered out, and we still stay back. That is why in one of the earlier sessions, or 2-3 weeks before, I mentioned, the highest qualification or the important qualification for somebody to receive Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu's mercy is to be a disqualified person. We are disqualified for doing anything useful. That is why we need Mahaprabhu to deliver us, because we will not be able to understand Krishna consciousness otherwise. So here it is explained that this Krishna Leela is happening all over the universe. At every time there is something or the other happening in this universe, and the purpose of them is to somehow or other to deliver us. And by our limited senses, we cannot appreciate this. Therefore, Krishna's eternal pastimes are very difficult for us to understand. Prabhupada explains in the purport. So to help us do that, Acharyas, take some extra efforts. So if we slightly understand, let's slightly go down, why we can't understand Krishna's pastimes. At one side, it is explained that Tyaktva Deham Punarjanma Naiti Mameti So Arjuna. What is the first portion of that sloka? Janma Karma Chame Devyam Evam Yoveti Tattvataha. So if I do not understand the truth of how Krishna appeared and performed his Leela properly, Tattva Deham Punarjanma Naiti, I will not be able to get that. So Krishna is explaining that unless we understand his transcendental appearance and disappearance, we will not be able to get to the stages of Tattva Deham Punarjanma Naiti. But here Prabhupada is explaining in the purport that although Krishna's pastimes seem to appear and disappear, they are continuously existing in one Brahmanda or another. Thus, all of Krishna's Leela are present simultaneously throughout the innumerable universes. By our limited senses, we cannot appreciate this. So, what is that statement all about? That statement is about the pride one possesses. Prakriti kriyamanani gunai karmani sarvasaha ahankara vimudatma kartaham iti manyate. Bhagavad Gita 3rd chapter, Krishna explains Prakriti kriyamanani gunai karmani sarvasaha. It is explained that gunai karmani sarvasaha. If somebody is thinking, I am the doer, karta aham iti manyate. So, Krishna explains, any time when we start to think, I am the doer, I am a vimuda, I am a fool. So, the second realization is about the reason why we can't understand this part and why we needed acharyas, why we needed their help. So, the principle is, this pride has got three components or three categories of pride are there. Category number 1 is called Madha, which means intoxicated. Number 2 is called Drishta, which means impudence. And third aspect of pride is called Udhanda, which means pushing oneself forward. So pride can be manifested in any one of these forms or a combination of these forms. Mada, Drishta, Udhanda. Mada means intoxicated mind. I am so proud, so much intoxicated, so much so to an extent, I lose my intelligence. Durvasa Muni's anger towards Ambarish Maharaj, Gopal Chapal's anger towards Srivas Thakur, Daksha's anger towards Lord Shiva. We can go on listing like this. This is called intelligence covered by intoxication. This intoxication is not necessarily just you have liquor or something. Your pride can as well intoxicate our consciousness to an extent. We will not be able to appreciate the truth. This is called Mada category. Drishta category is, Drishta is actually mean not showing due respect for one another, being rude, being impudent, being impertinent. So because of this propensity also, we fail to recognize the Supreme Lord's wonderful Leela. Can we all, devotees, practicing devotees, deny Krishna's Leela or Krishna's presence in our life? Each and every one of us, till today, Krishna is giving us an experience that He is. We were going to play a drama on Krishna is. Not Krishna was or Krishna will be or Krishna were, or nothing. Krishna is. He is present. He is helping. He is all powerful. And He is beyond us. Mattah parataram nanyat kinchidasi dhananjaya mayi sarvamidam proktam sutre maniganaiva. So hence, we need to really understand that where does this impudence come from? Impudence also comes from our own identifying ourselves with this body and all that we possess. So this is second aspect of pride. The third aspect of pride is such that is uddhanda, pushing oneself forward. We are so much into ourselves. We try to see ourselves in everything. So it is extremely important for us to realize this part, that we are just nimitta matra, we are just an insignificant instrument in the hands of Krishna. Unless we realize this, we will not be able to understand Krishna's Leela. So, unfortunately, in today's situation, because of our conditioning, even after coming in Krishna consciousness, even after being repeatedly told, somewhere or the other, our consciousness is still centered around us. When we see Krishna, you see Prabhuji, that garland Krishna is wearing, I made it. You see the dress that Krishna is wearing today, my mom stitched. The jewelry that Krishna is wearing today, we made at our, Sangha. That bhoga that we have offered to Krishna, the first 3 rows, me and my mom together cooked. So when we see the Lord, we are trying to identify where I am there. Or when we are seeing the Lord, we are seeing why I am not there. When we see the Lord, we are seeing so many other external things rather than seeing how insignificant we are and how great the Supreme Lord is. The difference between a self-realized soul and a conditioned soul is such that a self-realized soul see even in the most degraded situation Krishna's hand. The self-degraded soul will see in the most self-realized situation also what benefit he is getting and how he is forward. This is because of the uddhanda attitude. So the reason why we are not able to realize Krishna's pastimes are still going on is because of the ahankar. So pride is the cause, and what is the effect? Ego is the effect. That is why ego, what we say in English, word ego, my acronym is edging God out. So the more somebody is proud, that's why Krishna says, ahankara vimudatma. Ahankara is the cause, vimuda is the effect. You are a fool. And what activities you do with this cause and effect? Karta hamiti manyate. I will think I am the doer. And there's a very interesting realization somebody shared with me when I was in Alachua 10 days before. I was there for an education conference from the ISKCON's Ministry of Education. So I had a good fortune to associate with some very interesting devotees. So one of the devotees mentioned a very nice point. He says, humbled should come first before humble. If humble comes before humbled, it is a sign of pride. I'll repeat. Humbled or humiliation or humility means you are humbled first before even you are checking you are humble or not. But if I am claiming myself humble, that humility is a sign of pride. It's a very profound statement. The reason is that most of the times we as practicing devotees think we have our own checklist. Humility, tolerance, patience, this, that. We keep checking them from an external viewpoint and dictate some result to manifest in our own lives. But Krishna is beyond our control, and hence we need to learn to realize the Krishna consciousness process rather than questioning the Supreme Lord's pastimes are not relevant or not understandable because of other arrangements. It is up to us to take an endeavor. So the second realization hence is, so long as we are proud, so long as we are affected by mada or drishta or uddanda, which is intoxicated impudence, or because of pushing oneself forward, we will not be able to understand Krishna's pastimes that are happening time and again around the world. So hence, what do we do? How do we situate ourselves in Krishna consciousness? Here Srila Prabhupada is explaining sadhaka and Srila Prabhupada is explaining siddha. So I would like to share a 8-stage process of sadhaka to siddha, or what you can call as beginner to being situated. So this again, I shared this in the previous week's Bhagavatam class. So I would like to repeat it here for the benefit of all those who may not have heard this or followed that. So my 8-stage realization is, from the time a person gain knowledge till a person become a devotee, there are many subtle stages, and if he does not understand these subtle stages in his life, he will be leading an illusory Krishna consciousness journey. Illusory Krishna conscious journey is so dangerous because you will be thinking you are a devotee, but you will be actually doing nonsense. Srila Prabhupada writes in the 2nd chapter of Bhagavad Gita, around 63rd, 64th, 65th, I don't exactly remember the verse number, a very interesting point. He is explaining in the context where Krishna says, even if one of the senses, if it is not utilized, if it is not engaged in Krishna's service, out of 5 senses, even if one senses is not going to be utilized in Krishna's service, engaged in Krishna's service, we will have a problem. Hence, make sure, Arjuna, all your senses are engaged in my service. The purport Srila Prabhupada is giving a fantastic example. So he is giving an example of a person rowing a boat. A marriage party wants to cross over from one side of the river to another side of the river. They sat in the boat and it was going to take the whole night to traverse the journey. So they slept. And the very next morning, they saw they were in the same place. And the reason they were in the same place was not because the boatman was not rowing. The boatman was rowing all night. But the boat was anchored. So, it is not that the knowledge that we possess is sufficient. There is something more to knowledge that we need to do for us to practice Krishna consciousness. So my third realization as a part of this particular shloka is about somebody is a sadhaka. If he wants to elevate his consciousness from sadhaka to siddha, what are the stages that he need to go through. This is purely a logical set of thoughts and also some personal realization as a part of our journey in Krishna consciousness. So, in this journey of Krishna consciousness, these 8 stages that I am going to speak about is very relevant and you can experience in your own life. And this is not a comprehensive 8 stages. This is purely a analysis of our spiritual life, and hence don't confine your realization around this, but this will definitely help us in positioning our spiritual journey nicely. It is said that Brahmanda Brahmite Kona Bhagyavan Jeev Guru Krishna Prasade Pai Bhakti Lata Beej. What is Guru Krishna Prasade? Guru Krishna Prasade is Divya Gyan. So a person, the moment he receives the Divya Gyan, transcendental knowledge, he has received the seed of devotion. From the time he receives the seed of devotion, he sows the seed, he waters the seed, he fends the seed, he uproots the weed, the sapling grows, and finally penetrates the Brahmanda, go Kailash, go all the way till the Krishna's lotus feet. We saw in the previous chapter when Krishna was explaining this to Chaitanya Mahaprabhu was explaining this to Rupa Goswami. We saw about how this Bhakti Lata Beej, Prabhupada, very nice purport he gave. So this Bhakti Lata Beej, beginning point is knowledge. The end point is devotion. So this is first point in 8 part. What are the remaining 6 stages? They are very subtle, they are very obvious, they are not something new, but at least when we put into the context, we become conscious about it. So knowledge has to mature into understanding. So the second stage of knowledge is, we need to understand what we received. And what does understanding means? It means we ask relevant questions to understand the knowledge, as well as we inherit the mood of the Acharya. So if knowledge is only knowledge, then that will make our heart hard. The difference between Brahmanas in Vrindavan versus their wives, the Brahmanas are highly knowledgeable, but the wives of the Brahmanas are highly realized. Knowledge alone will restrict the Lord to be seen. Realization alone can allow us to see the Lord, or the Lord to be seen by us, or Lord to see us. So hence, the knowledge need to be matured into understanding. And understanding means asking relevant questions and inheriting the mood of the acharyas along with the instructions. So the third stage, once you have understanding, is about assimilation. What is assimilation? Assimilation is one step prior to application. Assimilation is all about evaluating how do I apply this knowledge that I have understood in my own personal life to my context. Because instructions are generic in nature. But when it comes to our own application, we need to see our own parameters, quotients, and apply them. Srila Prabhupada gave different advices, personal advices to different devotees, depends upon their psychophysical nature and where do they stand in their devotional ladder. So hence, assimilation is the third step in this journey, and which actually means what I used to always say, honest, guided introspection. So hence, we need to make sure that in our journey of Krishna consciousness, we need to somewhere or the other assimilate and constantly ponder on what am I supposed to give up, what am I supposed to add, who am I supposed to associate with, who am I supposed not to associate with, what am I supposed to eat, what am I not supposed to eat, and go on practically evaluating so that Krishna consciousness and instructions that we received from the bona fide source can be applied. So the third stage is called assimilation, introspection, and fourth stage is called application. We have spoken about these 4 stages long time back. It is very rare to get knowledge. It is very difficult to understand. It's not only, difficult to understand, it is important to understand. If a person does not understand the Siddhanta, very difficult. So it is very, very rare to receive the knowledge. It is very difficult to understand. It is very special if you get into the mode of assimilation. And it is divine if you are applying. So Srila Prabhupada writes in Nectar of Devotion, Introduction. I'll read that portion for you. This devotional service is a sort of cultivation. It is not simply inaction for people who like to be inactive or devote their time to silent meditation. There are many different methods for people who want this. But cultivation of Krishna consciousness is different. The particular word used by Srila Rupa Goswami in this connection is anusilana, or cultivation by following the predecessor teachers. As soon as we say cultivation, we must refer to activity. Without activity, consciousness alone cannot help us. All activities may be divided into 2 classes. One class may be for achieving a certain goal, and the other may be for avoiding some unfavorable circumstance. So those who are cultivating spiritual life and executing devotional service are always engaged in activity. Such activity can be performed with the body or with the mind. Thinking, feeling and willing are all activities of the mind, and when we will to do something, the activities comes to be manifest by the gross bodily senses. Thus, in our mental activities, we should always try to think of Krishna and try to plan how to please him, following in the footsteps of the great acharyas and the personal spiritual master. There are activities of the body, activities of the mind, activities of the speech. A Krishna conscious person engages his words in preaching the glories of the Lord. This is called Kirtana. So this is what Srila Prabhupada is talking about, application in Krishna consciousness. And he is saying very clearly, consciousness alone cannot help us. And he is also saying, we are not here to become inactive, silent devotee. And hence, application of Krishna consciousness means what we hear, what we understood, what we assimilated, we try to apply. But this is one chunk of activities in Krishna consciousness, but still there is a lot more to go. So we have finished 4 stages, and that's where we spoke long time back. But what do we continue from there? Where do we continue from there? Because every application leads to a realization. And hence, realization is extremely important for us to practice in Krishna consciousness. So realization happens only when you apply what you heard. So to realize the Supreme Lord's Leela is still going on. Srila Prabhupada has time and again mentioned that Mahaprabhu's Leela are still going on. If we can understand this ISKCON movement's expansion is Mahaprabhu's Leela manifesting in front of us. To realize Krishna's pastimes are still happening in Vrindavan. To accept that Goloka Vrindavan has come down to Bhuloka Vrindavan and is called Bhauma Vrindavan is still as pure as Krishna himself. Prabhupada writes here. So these realizations we can get, and only then we will be able to make progress in Krishna consciousness. So it is extremely important to cross-check what do we realize. Are we having realization? Are we having some inspiration? Are we having experience? And the greatest realization is, the important realization is to get to realize that we are the most insignificant person, and actually what I thought I know is very insignificant in comparison to what I don't know, and everybody else is better than me. Once Dronacharya asked Duryodhan as well as Yudhishthira Maharaj, after the training got over, to get bakshish. So again, this I mentioned on the previous call. It's very interesting that the topic is pretty similar, and we are going over the similar topics, similar points. He told Yudhishthira Maharaj, please get me one guy who is lower than you. And he told Duryodhan, you please get one guy who is better than you. I give you 1 week time. After 1 week, both of them came back to Dronacharya and said, what? Duryodhana started crying and said, my dear Gurudev, I am sorry, to whomever I see them better than me, and I feel myself lower than them in my consciousness. And Duryodhana says, my dear Gurudev, I am sorry, whomever I am seeing myself better than them, so I can't get you a candidate. And Dronacharya said, I will solve your problem right now. He turned towards Yudhishthira and said, this guy in front of you, Duryodhana, is lower than in your consciousness. He turned towards Duryodhana and said, this guy, Yudhishthira, is better than you in your consciousness. So the point here is that somehow or other, we need to get into a realization, and the realization should lead us to somewhere or the other, that I am not this body, spirit, soul, and I am an insignificant servant of my spiritual master. And all that success that I am getting in my Krishna consciousness is the mercy of my spiritual master, and glories to him. And any failure that we may face is because of my shortcoming. So in this entire paragraph, Srila Prabhupada has mentioned in the last line of the first paragraph, although it is a little difficult to understand the eternal pastimes of Krishna in this way, we must accept the verdict of the Vedic literatures, and this is actually a realization. And this realization Acharyas have shared, otherwise we would have never been able to understand what is mentioned. Very soon we are going to see Chaitanya Mahaprabhu's explanation on 64 different explanations on Atma Ramasya Munayo verse. What if Mahaprabhu has not explained that? Do you think we have any qualification to even understand, get closer to that? You don't. Hence, realization forms an integral part of our journey in Krishna consciousness. That's our stage 5. Stage 6, realization leads to humility. I can't be humble unless I have realized. And my realization itself is my humility. And what I realize? I am das, anudas, anudas, anudas. If in the journey of Krishna consciousness, if we don't become humble, if we remain proud, and if we are remaining proud, we won't be able to understand Krishna's transcendental Leela that are happening, manifesting around us, in front of us, in our universe. There are so many unfortunate people who during manifested Leela of Krishna couldn't see Krishna. And interestingly, Mahaprabhu did not reveal himself as Krishna when he was on the planet, because he knew that we in Kali Yuga, with our limited intelligence, we will doubt him. We will misunderstand him. We will not be able to correlate. But when Mahaprabhu's Leela were glorified by Bhaktivinoda Thakur and all the others, we realize how fortunate we are. Not everybody could appreciate Srila Prabhupada when Srila Prabhupada was on the planet. Those who appreciated, they made it. Those who didn't, they're still crying. And similarly, those who are not taking advantage of the current situation in Krishna consciousness and taking a humble position, they will definitely repent in the future. Oh my God, I missed my train. So hence, the sixth realization is humility is a natural stage in our progress from sadhaka to siddha. And with this humility, with this realization, we become eligible to be engaged in the service of the Lord. We will become eligible to preach the glories of the Lord. So preaching and service opportunities are actually possible only when we are humble, only when we have realized, only when we apply, only when we are assimilating, only when we understand, only when we... So by the time I start to preach, I am expected to be humble, I am expected to be having a realization of what it means to be Krishna consciousness upon me. In the stage of 1 to 7, most of us, we hear the knowledge, we directly preach. And that's where the problem creeps in. And hence, with this preaching and service attitude, our Bhakti Lata Bij sprouts. And this spiral goes on and on and on. And this becomes sapling, and this becomes a very nice plant, which penetrates Brahma Jyoti, Kailash, Ayodhya, Goloka Vrindavan planet, and finally reaches Krishna's lotus feet. So hence the third realization is about the stages from sadhaka to become a siddha. Till we get this 7th stage and reach the 8th stage, all the activities that we are doing in Krishna consciousness are preparation for us to become a devotee rather than being a devotee. And this preparation is equally important, equally beneficial, but we need to always remember that I am in the process of trying to purify my consciousness and I need to get there. So this Krishna Lila that is explained by Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, which is happening in every universe at every point in time, and they are continuous, they are meant purely for delivering us. If we don't take advantage of them, we are the losers, and Krishna is Rasaraj. Hence the last realization, I just want to make a statement that Krishna, by being present in all this Leela, he is simultaneously giving benefits to all the sadhakas. He is simultaneously engaging all the siddhas. He is simultaneously enjoying his own wonderful Leela. And last but not least, he is simultaneously challenging all the atheists and degraded consciousness men that, my dear guys, you are fool by not taking advantage of the situation. So it is extremely important that somehow or other we definitely need to get much more serious in Krishna consciousness, because in one Krishna Leela, by we participating, we hearing from a bona fide source, we will definitely be able to give advantage, benefit to ourselves. So Krishna, by one single agenda of him performing this Leela all over the place, he is delivering us, people like us, by engaging people like Srila Prabhupada and Rupa Goswami, who are all self-realized soul, and he is definitely enjoying himself by being part of this, and he is also challenging Naradamas. That is what Srila Prabhupada is explaining. The moment we become perfect, we take birth in the womb of a gopi on a planet where Krishna's pastimes are going on. So all that we can be assured of is this process, unless and otherwise we do some notorious things and step out of this process has got the potency to get us access to Krishna in person. We will be able to touch, feel, dance, play, sing with Krishna and Krishna's dearmost devotees. And this good fortune was bestowed upon us by Srila Prabhupada, Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Maharaj, and all the predecessor acharyas. So once again, we offer our special prayers and obeisances to them to have given us this wisdom. So before ending, I would like to summarize the 4 points that we discussed today. The first point that we discussed today is that these wonderful glories of the Supreme Lord are sweet, relevant and relatable because Krishna's Leela, narrated by a Vaishnava, explained by another Vaishnava, and definitely coming down the disciplic succession till the devotees from whom we are learning from, it is definitely the sweetness of it is increasing because of individuals' realization on the Supreme Lord's pastimes. So hence these Lord's pastimes received in the parampara are sweet, are relevant and relatable. So with that note, we discussed 4 sets of realization. One is about how Jaya, glories of the Supreme Lord, is also victory, and by glorifying the Lord, we get a victory to understand we are servants of the Supreme Lord. The second aspect of it we discussed was about Srila Prabhupada's point on we won't be able to understand Krishna's pastime, and the reason which we analyzed were because of the pride, which is the cause of it, and ego, which is the effect of it. This combination edges God out of our life. And we discussed 3 forms of pride: Mada, Drishta, Uddhanda, and which is intoxicated impudence and pushing oneself forward. With this individual or combination of this pride pushes our opportunity to glorify, identify, see Krishna's pastimes. And we discussed about the stages to elevate ourselves from the stage of sadhaka to siddha. We discussed about 8 stages: knowledge, understanding, assimilation, application, realization, humility, participating in service and preaching opportunities, and beginning of our Krishna consciousness in real sense. And the last point is Krishna Lila is simultaneously glorifying, simultaneously benefiting, simultaneously addressing 4 different category of people. Krishna, by performing this Leela in different universe, he delivers people like us. By engaging Siddhas and self-realized soul like Srila Prabhupada and Rupa Goswami to help us get delivered, and he enjoys himself during this Leela. And not only that, through this Leela, he also challenges the lowest amongst mankind who thinks he is the doer. And that challenge helps a person to at least at some point in time get to an understanding that he was not the doer. With this, I end my discussion. Hare Krishna. If there are any questions or comments, we can discuss. Srila Prabhupada ki Jai. If there are any comments or questions, we can discuss.
Hare Krishna, Prabhu. Dandavat pranam, Srila Prabhupada. Thank you for the very insightful class, especially the summary towards the end, which was very helpful. A lot of points very, very beautifully made. One point that really stood out in my mind is that knowledge is not sufficient, but we must understand the mood of our Acharya or understand the mood of the instruction of our spiritual master. But that is very, very important and very beautiful. Thank you so much, Prabhu. Thank you so much. I don't have any questions, but thank you for your wonderful classes. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna. Anybody has any comments or questions?
Hare Krishna, Prabhu.
Hare Krishna, Prabhu. I do have one question.
Sure, Mataji.
Can you explain why it is that having pride obstructs our ability to realize Krishna's pastimes?
Why pride is stopping us to enjoy Krishna's pastime? Is that the question?
To realize. I think that's what you had said, right?
Right. So it's very Prabhupada explains in different places whenever this aspect of pride is talking about, because the nature of pride is to put oneself in the center, and when we are in the center, because the pride is the cause, and the effect of pride in oneself is we become egoistic. And the moment a person becomes egoistic, then he always naturally thinks that he is a beneficiary of all that is happening around. And that was Paundraka's case when Krishna was there on the planet. That was the case of Kamsa. That was the case of Ravana. That was the case of all the demoniac personalities. The reason a person is categorized as a demon is purely because of these two qualities of pride and ego. Of course, envy, you can always put all the vices, but then what directly blinds? Ravana did not see Rama as Supreme Personality of Godhead. Duryodhana did not see Krishna in the assembly as Supreme Personality of Godhead. Paundraka, anybody for that matter, did not see the Lord is purely because of their propensity of their pride, the pride that they possessed. So the realization of understanding that I am Krishna's servant, that is never going to manifest in a person whose heart is hard. Because pride, the Brahmanas in Vrindavan, they derived because of the knowledge they possessed, made their heart hard. And Krishna's pure love cannot be sown in that hard heart. Krishna need a soft heart. Krishna's pure devotion definitely need a person who need to understand. So the nature of Mada, Drishta, Uddanda that we spoke about is both intoxication, impudence, and pushing oneself forward. These three combination actually pushes the devotional agenda to the sideline, or in other words, pushing oneself in ahead of the Supreme Lord, because of which realization is impossible. Because he will only realize things around him and will not be able to realize things around the Supreme Lord. And even anything that is going to go bad in his life, he will blame the Supreme Lord, and if anything good happens to his life, he will give credit to himself. So with that propensity, a person will not even be counted as a Kanishta. He will be, considered as an demoniac in nature. Am I making sense?
Yeah, I think so. Let me see if you would agree with this statement that when a person's heart is hard, that means that they're not able to appreciate when Krishna is showing them or others mercy or love or affection. They're not able to either recognize it or appreciate it, and therefore for such a person, Krishna is not inspired to reveal himself, which includes, his pastime.
You're right.
Say that's an accurate statement.
Yes.
Okay. All right, Prabhu, thank you so much.
Thank you. Hare Krishna. Any other questions or comments?
Hare Krishna, Prabhuji, please accept my humble obeisance. I have just... is her time, Pro?
Yeah, sure.
Okay. See, like you have mentioned that Janma Karma Chame Digam, Evam Yo Vitti Tapata, Tisadi, Janma Naiti, Mamati Shodan. So one who knows Krishna's pastimes and his birth and all this about Krishna in truth, so that person can go to Krishna. And I have also understood that in the global movement, this is Lord Chaitanya's movement is to develop love for Krishna, and then they can engage in Krishna's service and go and serve eternally also to eternal abode. So could you please explain about this two? I think for me it's kind of contradictory. So could you please explain?
Yeah. So actually, there is no contradiction in the in another sense, because the real truth that Krishna is talking about here is about being his servant. When Krishna referred about uh, the truth in terms of knowing about his appearance and his lila, my realization is, or my understanding is that he was not trying to make us a scholar or somebody who can technically understand his, this is not about the technicalities of his appearance and disappearance. It is purely about what Srila Prabhupada mentioned in this particular purport, where how does Krishna's pastimes are traversing through so many universes, and as his part and parcel and as servant of his servants, if we try to participate in some infinitesimal capacity to engage in his service or in his devotee service, you are actually understanding the truth correctly. So my realization about the truth that is referred here about Krishna's appearance, even though it is about knowing about his glorious supreme nature, it is also about to understand how insignificant we are in connection with him, and that insignificant nature of ours, we need to engage in his service in that frame of mind, in that humble frame of mind, which will make us qualified to travel in this journey of Krishna consciousness. To put it simple, Mahaprabhu in his manifested Leela, he picked and chosen those people who were rejected, who were unqualified, who were not being considered by anybody else, Jagai, Madai, and this entire movement of Srila Prabhupada's mercy on hippies and so many other fallen souls, or just to communicate that the real truth is to just chant, sing, and be a servant of your Lord's servant. So that is actually synonymous to the word Chaktva Deham Punarjanma in that verse what Srila Prabhupada has mentioned. I am just reading the purport in which Srila Prabhupada is saying, the impersonalists and the yogis, this is 4.9 Bhagavad Gita. The impersonalists and the yogis attain liberation only after much trouble and many, many births. Even then the liberation they achieve merging into the impersonal Brahma Jyotir of the Lord is only partial. But the devotee, simply by understanding the transcendental nature of the body and the activities of the Lord, attains the abode of the Lord after ending this body and does not run the risk of returning to this material world. And when explaining to that part of it, Srila Prabhupada is explaining that it is very important that the last line he is giving that purport is, one should therefore cultivate Krishna consciousness with the faith and knowledge, and in this way he attains perfection. This is the same word he is using in this particular purport, where quitting this material body, the perfect devotee also associated with Krishna and his other associates. He is saying that cultivation of Krishna consciousness is a real understanding of the truth. So this means participating in Mahaprabhu's Leela, doing some insignificant service, we get qualified ourselves to get elevated or going back to Godhead. Am I making some sense here, or am I, not so clear?
Yes,
Clear?
thank you very much. Yes, Mahaprabhu's mercy.
Thank you, ma.
And Prabhupada's mercy.
Uh,
And your mercy. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.
Thank you.
Any other questions or comments?
Hare
Hare Krishna Prabhu. Hare Krishna Prabhu. Oh, I'm sorry. Does somebody have a question?
Yep.
Go ahead,
Yeah.
finish, I'll ask later.
No, go ahead, Rajeshwari. Mine's kind of a weird question, so you go ahead.
No, mine is equally weird. Go ahead.
Okay, sorry, I think I was on mute. My question is, I'm sorry, I kind of got cut off in between, so maybe you answered it. I'm not sure, but when we were speaking about how the Leelas of Krishna take place in all the universes at different times, I mean, they're continuously happening. So, I don't know how to even ask this question, but so devotees can participate continuously. Devotees can participate in his Leelas in the material world if they desire, right?
Yes.
And would they desire? Why would they desire?
Okay. The devotees have got only one desire. The desire is to be useful for their master. They don't have any other desire. Their only desire is, if Krishna is pleased, so am I. And wherever Krishna wants me to go, I am ready to go. In the song, Manasa Deho Geho Jo Kichu More, Bhaktivinoda Thakur is very nicely explaining, if I am given a chance to take birth as a worm in the stool in a Vaishnava's house, I would consider my birth as great rather than, being Brahma. So the point is that Srila Prabhupada writes in the last paragraph of this particular purport of 397, he says this statement is found in Ujjvala Lilamani, where when a devotee becomes perfect, he is transferred to a universe where Krishna's pastimes are taking place. Now, what is Krishna's pastime? This pastime could as well be, Srila Prabhupada going and starting a hippie, converting a hippies into happies. This could be, some other Lila, Kaliya Mardar. This could be, we don't know, any pastime. I mean, as Prabhupada claims, current ISKCON movement preaching is also Krishna's pastime and an extension of his pastimes. So, as a devotee, when he is self-realized or when he is purified, he is definitely constantly shifting or transported wherever Krishna wanted. Then we will become a permanent member of Krishna's drama troupe. Like how Indradyumna Swami has got a festival of troupe, 400 members. Some are permanent members, some are seasonal members. So when we get qualified, we will be in the permanent member category of Krishna's pastime. Since he is executing simultaneous pastime and all over the place, he needs so many helping hands. I always say this to our devotees. When we are a devotee practicing Kanishta, we are given challenges so that we can get purified. Now, when we are becoming serious in Krishna consciousness, we are given challenges so that the leftover attachments are removed. When we become completely purified, we are put through so many challenges so that to teach the whole world, in spite of the challenge, a devotee is always attached to Krishna. So finally, Krishna is going to definitely use us, engage us, and by doing so, he is establishing how devotee and Krishna are very, very dear. So the third stage is actually a stage of happiness. So when Srila Prabhupada started this movement, initially they had so many challenges. And every challenge made every Prabhupada disciple come closer to Srila Prabhupada and Srila Prabhupada come closer to them. To an extent, Jayadvaita Maharaj once wrote in a Back to God magazine an article about Vaishnava relationship. His first line of the article is that Srila Prabhupada once said, even if you happen to see Brahmananda smoking a cigarette, we should offer obeisances to him. This means Is it Srila Prabhupada endorsing somebody smoking cigarette? No. This actually means Srila Prabhupada is acknowledging what is the kind of services those stalwart devotees had done so that we all could sit and practice Krishna consciousness. They were sent to Pakistan, they were sent to Africa, they were sent to different places, and those challenges are their Leela. I mean, Srila Prabhupada's kindness towards them. I'll tell you one simple story which I have shared before. Harikesh Maharaj was Prabhupada's personal secretary that time. So, in those times, to be a personal secretary of Srila Prabhupada means it's a very, very special service opportunity. I mean, it's like you are like a special personal servant of Prabhupada. So one day Srila Prabhupada called Harikesh Maharaj and said that you please go to Germany and preach there. So Harikesh Maharaj at that time started crying and saying that Srila Prabhupada, I'm sorry if I had made some mistake. Please excuse me, please don't take me away from your lotus feet. I want to serve you here. So he thought it is a punishment for some mistake. But Srila Prabhupada said, no, you still have to go. 8-9 months later or a few months later, I don't remember exactly, Harikesh Maharaj came to Sridham Mayapur for the annual Gaur Purnima festival with few of Srila Prabhupada's books translated in German language and gave it to Srila Prabhupada. Srila Prabhupada, this is the work that we did in the last few months. Srila Prabhupada said, see, this is exactly why I wanted you to go there. I'm very, very pleased with your service. So the interesting aspect of it is, a devotee is absolutely not bothered about what he has to go through so long as he is sure that he is in the service of the Lord. So to answer you, yes, after self-realization, a devotee is transported to different places and he is just engaged in the service of the Lord, and it does not matter whether it is in this material world or any other place, it doesn't matter. Am I making sense?
Yes, perfectly. Perfectly. Thank you, Prabhu. That answers questions exactly. And also your point when you said that he puts us through, if you are purified, he puts you through trouble so that you can be an example. And it reminded me of my Guru Maharaj, Jayapataka Swami. So thank you so much. Can see Krishna consciousness as an action.
Yes, thank you.
Hare Krishna Prabhu, Dandavat Pranam. I have a question.
Sure.
So here in the purport it says that, when we, in essence, when we complete our, when we become 100% Krishna conscious, let's say we take birth as in the womb of a gopi. Is that what happens? Because I was thinking, from other sources that, we just go to Goloka, in our original spiritual forms, and then Krishna is welcoming us, and the gopis and Radharani, they all are welcoming us into their party. So is that what happens, or we actually take birth in the womb and we grow up and then we, take part in the party of Radha Krishna?
Okay. I'll give you a two-dimensional answer. This has got two dimensions. One dimension is theoretically what you say is possible, and it is also stated elsewhere like that. But in another dimension, what is spiritual world all about? If you ask a self-realized, suppose for example Sanatana Goswami and Rupa Goswami, when they were in the Vrindavan Dham, which we are visiting every year or during our yatras, is this not spiritual world? For me, no, because I am conditioned and I see filled, I see some problems, I see some pain. But that is not the way Rupa Goswami or Sanatana Goswami see. That's exactly what Srila Prabhupada wrote in this purport. He writes in the purport, in the first paragraph, one should try to understand how they are taking place by understanding the example of the sun. Although the Lord is appearing constantly in the material universes, his pastimes are eternally present in the original Goloka Vrindavana. And when he is explaining about this, he means that what is happening in the original Goloka Vrindavana is actually happening in this material world also. So wherever it is happening, they are one and same. So the dimension is that whether we directly go to the Goloka Vrindavan Dham and take your own Swarupa and try to take part in the constitutional service that you are originally assigned to, yes, that is technically true. But how it is not true if that is happening in a different sense? If we are sent to another universe where Krishna is performing his Leela and we are going to be part of a Leela as a grass, as a tree, as a cow, or as a calf, as a monkey, or as a gopa, or whatever that is. It's all identically one and same. So there is no technical difference, but both are seemingly possible. And I don't see there's a contradiction in that spiritual sense. Am I making some sense, Mataji?
Prabhu, but here it says, you take birth, and, we are trying to transcend birth to death. So I was surprised by this, that, we actually would take birth in the womb. Even if it's of a gopi, it's still taking birth, growing up, I would think.
The birth is an English word that is used here, should not be confused with the birth of a devotee, because the birth of a devotee is a celebration. Because once a person, it's like, I am inside a jail. Am I a culprit or am I an officer? I am in a jail. So I am going to a jail. I could be on the other side of the jail to supervise the people who are arrested. So by me being inside the jail is not necessarily means I am a victim. It would actually also say that I am overseeing. So Prabhupada explains that in the material world there is a spiritual embassy, and within the embassy the rules of the country is only going to be monitored. In India, American embassy, if you walk inside the American embassy, the norms there, all those things are pretty much in line with what the American standards are. So yes, for a devotee, taking birth is actually a extra pain, but a devotee wishes to take that path if Krishna wish you to do that. If you wish not to do that, then it becomes your wish. So the complete surrender is, what does Krishna want you to do? So once Krishna decides, hey, you go and take birth here, go and take birth here, you go and stay there, you go and stay permanently in Golok Vrindavan. If Krishna said this, we all are one and same. So that word birth, death, old age, disease is not going to entangle. Prabhupada tells a very interesting story. A sadhu visits a king's place, and when a sadhu visits a king's place, the sadhu is giving 4 different blessings to 4 different people. And to a devotee, he says you either live or die. Because whether the devotee is living, he is going to serve the Supreme Lord. Even if he is dying, his death is glorious. So the word birth may be linked with birth, death, old age, disease. But in the case of a Vaishnava's birth, is never like that. Even though apparently a Vaishnava may go through external changes, but his heart is always with Krishna. This is the case with all the self-realized souls that have come amongst us. So if it is highest to our consciousness to put our hands and legs and intelligence to such a way that Krishna, you engage me the way you want. That's why Prabhupada is writing in that song Boro Kripa, Koile Krishna. He says, my dear Lord, make me dance the way you want, make me dance, my dear Lord. So if that spirit, if Krishna wants us to take birth again, so be it. But by choice, a person does not want to get into the materialistic scenario. But for preaching, no problem. Am I making sense?
Yes, Prabhu. Thank you.
Hare Krishna.
It is all based upon what Krishna would desire for us, that we may take
and
birth.
Also what you desire. If you desire to not to take birth again, then we'll go on taking birth again. If you desire, Krishna, I want to serve you, you do whatever you want, Krishna may end that process of birth and death and give you only service opportunity, which may as well be coming to this material world again, but as Krishna's representative, but not as a conditioned soul. So our job is to get rid of conditioned state to constitutional state. That's all our responsibility. Whether Krishna wants us here or there, we are at his service. We giving Krishna the menu card, then we are still conditioned. We give Krishna a blanket check, Krishna do whatever you want, then that's a surrender.
Thank you, Prabhu. Very nice realization. Thank you very much. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna, H.J. Swami Kushi, Prabhuji, Koti Dandavat Pranam to Seva. Every time, Prabhuji, it's touch to heart your realization and we apply in a day-to-day life, Prabhu. Thank you very much for your Association. Srila Prabhupada Srila Gurudev ki Jai Ho. Dandvat Pranam.
Hare Krishna. Thanks for your kind words. Okay. Thank you. Hare Krishna. Are there any more questions?
Yes, Prabhu. Actually, I
Yes.
do have one other question.
Sure.
I'm sure you feel like you've answered this many times, but I still need to ask why it is important for us to see ourselves as insignificant, and then the result of not seeing ourselves as insignificant.
My answer is that because that is the truth. It is that if I see a smallest object very big, that is illusion. And if I see a biggest object very small, that is also illusion. If I see the object or a thing as they are, that is reality. The whole Krishna consciousness is about moving from illusion to reality. And the reality is we are insignificant and Krishna is great. So unless we get to see we are insignificant and realize on that, there is something wrong within us. So the real constitutional position is that we realize we are insignificant. Till that point in time, keep working on it. One girl came to Srila Prabhupada and said that, my dear Swamiji, your chanting of Hare Krishna Mahamantra process is so nice. It's so nice. Every time when I chant Hare Krishna Mahamantra, a red light come in front of my eyes. She thought that is the greatest achievement she got by chanting Hare Krishna Mahamantra. Srila Prabhupada said that, you please keep chanting more, that will also go away. So what happens is that unless we get to a realization, unless we get to, what is this insignificant word is all about? Insignificant means humility. Unless we are humble. What is humble? You cannot think anybody above, below you, the way Yudhishthira Maharaj thought. Because that humility is what is going to give you access to the Supreme Lord. Even if you have 1% of arrogance, 1% of ego, envy, pride, Krishna is not going to reside in your place. And for Krishna to reside in our heart, we need to make our heart 100% pure. And that begins with our utmost humility. Until we reach that stage, we are an illusion. So small shown as big seen as small, both are an illusion, and Krishna consciousness will clean us from the illusion and get us situated into the insignificant position. Making sense?
Yeah, somehow or other, though, I don't know, somehow or other, this realization is eluding me a little bit. This, the fact that when Krishna sees that we are not seeing ourselves as insignificant, then he will not reveal himself to us. And when I use the word insignificant, I mean that we are, infinitesimally small, and that we have no independent power. Because from Krishna's perspective, we are all very dear to him, so in that sense, we are not insignificant. But from this, let's say, constitutional position of our size, I guess, and our power, we are insignificant. And so, trying to connect that fact with the fact that if we don't see ourselves in that way, Krishna will not reveal himself to us. And, there's a little gap that's keeping me from making that logical step.
I have a rejoinder, or I have a connected statement to that whilst we are supposed to realize or work towards realizing ourselves insignificant, that realization is only to be applied upon us. We need to see everybody else around us as great and a support system that Krishna has sent us to reach him. So the step that you said that you are not able to take up will be very easy when we start appreciating and showing our gratitude to all the support that Krishna has provided. And naturally we will become, self-realized to an extent that I'm insignificant.
Yeah, no, the fact that we're insignificant, that I can understand. Just the step that I'm having trouble with is going from that realization that we are insignificant, that, and seeing everybody else as, better than myself, going from there to, or making the connection between that and the fact that Krishna and Krishna's inspiration to reveal himself to us.
By Krishna revealing himself to us, he is confirming that we are insignificant. So there are two perspectives. One is what others see upon you and what Krishna looks upon you. And even after, you should read this book called Brihad Bhagavatamrita. The first part, of the two parts, one is Narada's search for pure devotees. Second part is Gopakumara's pastime. We had a very good fortune to speak on that subject when we were in Vrindavan this December for 4 days. We had a crash course on the first part of Brihad Bhagavatamrita. Every devotee that Narada Muni is meeting is giving a purport about his own life, how insignificant he is, and how he cannot be the real recipient of Lord's mercy, how somebody else is the real recipient of Lord's mercy. And by him proving, he has become a recipient of Lord's mercy. So the point that I was trying to say is that we will, in this process of Krishna consciousness, this will become a natural acknowledgement of oneself about how is not the recipient of mercy of the Lord and how everybody else is Lord's recipients of mercy.
Okay.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you.
Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.